Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the supportive viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald. Between Havana and Astoria and Fulton County, and if you've ever traveled this stretch of road, you've probably noticed that there's a little way station here that you can pull off, and you may have wondered, what are those funky little buildings in there? Well, it's all part of a solar farm education center. And Tracy Snowman, you and your husband have probably started thinking about this some time ago, but it's actually a reality now, and it's a place where kids and adults can come and learn about solar farms.
Yes, absolutely.
Why here?
Because of its location. The solar field that you see across the road was in the works, and this little tiny piece of property, which is just elevated above that, was available, and they wanted to do something with it. It's too small to do any large structures, but Bill Dodds was very interested in something educational.
Now he's with the co-op, is that right?
He is in charge of the Spoon River Electric Co-op,
Okay.
and I've known Bill for years, worked with him on many projects. He's a very passionate person, especially when it comes to education. And so he wanted to do something educational, and normally what I do for Bill is sign work. And so he knew I was a retired teacher, or getting close to retirement at this point. And he gave me a call and said, "Yeah, I kind of got this little piece of property. This is sort of what I want to do. I want to do something interactive with solar panels. Could you help me out? Got any ideas?" So let me take you to the original sketch. Because what we do is, when we are thinking about a project, I'm still an old school artist, okay? So it all starts with drawing and painting. This little sketch you see here, this is a colored pencil piece, and some of these are little photographs. It's very rough, but if you look at what's in front of you, it's pretty close. So I actually sketched this out by hand, and my husband and I made this pitch to Bill.
He's an artist too, huh?
My husband is an artist. We're partners. We actually met in high school art class. We've been together. His dad was our art teacher. So we've been together, and so Scott he's more the farmer. He's got a background in agriculture, so he had the ideas for what the pieces could be and how many different interactive pieces there could be, like the tractor, for example. Everybody loves to sit on a tractor.
Heck yes.
So I put together, what our conversation kind of had been, and we pitched it to Bill. Bill fell in love instantly. He's a very passionate person, and this was what he wanted, but didn't quite have a concrete, handle on. So we made concrete what he was kind of thinking. So we took this to Springfield and talked with Robert Reynolds and his team, and everybody had the same reaction. They're like, "This is awesome, we can do this." I think one of my favorite things about working on this project, normally people come to me with projects, I do the projects, I get paid for it, end of story. Bill Dodds does not work that way. And I don't really have any other clients ever in my life who have rolled up their sleeves and come on site to work as well. So a lot of the little pieces, like the bell over here. So and this is designed, by the way.
Let's go take a look.
This is designed so that you don't have to go in any certain order. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
The kids can get off of a bus and scatter, and they can play, and they can enjoy all of these pieces. This was actually one of Bill's ideas that we didn't have in the original sketch. I'm 57 years old. That's just fun.
It's still fun.
It's still fun.
It just sounds great. I mean, it gives us something to do.
It does. And also, one of the things that we thought about was, we wanted a space big enough that a bus could come in and turn around.
Right.
And we put picnic tables in. So if someone wants to come up and have a sack lunch, this is a beautiful view. I mean, you can see this is America's heartland right here.
Yeah.
And you're just swallowed up by it. And even like the fence that you see here, it all you just feel like you're at a little farm. So it's a very intimate experience, and that's how we designed it to be.
Let's go take a look at this tractor. Now, I know you didn't make the tractor. You built a lot of this, but you didn't make this tractor.
Right. But this was one of the original pieces that we envisioned for the site, because tractors are very interesting machines.
This one's even got a flat tire, so you can tell it's been working.
Yes,
a working tractor.
absolutely, yes. And this was donated by one of the co-op members, I believe. And so it's a really nice opportunity. Kids can come up and touch it. You know, in so many cases, you know, there'd be a fence around it.
Right,
And this was designed to be touched. So kids can touch the wheels, they can touch the gears. If they can climb up in there, they can do that too.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's just a nice piece of understanding what's involved with a farm.
As long as we are here looking in that direction too, the reason all this is here is because the solar panels are right across the road.
That's right.
It's a 5-acre farm, so it's a lot of panels. It's a pretty big investment, a pretty big operation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here.
This piece right here is actually the core of this entire thing. And this was always part of Bill's idea that this would be an interactive type of thing. Now, this created a little bit of a problem for us. This particular piece of it went through a number of different phases and stages because we originally had wanted the power generated from these panels to do something, like throw balls in the air through a tube or something. We had talked about different ways of maybe having it a little bit more visual.
Yeah.
It wasn't practical. So sometimes, and this is where the artist, you know, my side of things, isn't always possible. So I envision things from an artistic standpoint, but sometimes the technical end of it doesn't really pan out.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of times when we worked on this where we had to marry, we had to find that marriage between an artistic vision and something that would be fun to look at, but something that would technically work.
That would demonstrate what solar power does.
Exactly.
Solar power is a little whimsical. You know, when the sun's not shining, it's not doing much.
Exactly. So what we decided to do was camouflage the panel. We didn't want to just stick a panel here. So we camouflaged the panel into what would look like the farm chicken coop.
Okay, I got it now. I got it.
And so these panels, because we mounted them low, and of course they're facing the correct direction. If you look at the positioning of those panels, this one is facing the exact same direction. So it's calibrated so that it will react to the sun. Now, putting your hand on it is really not going to have a whole lot of impact, but you'll notice there's two different panels. There are two different monitors here, and these are giving you the output of each panel at any various moments.
So the sun's out, of course, it goes up, the wattage goes up, and when it's not, it goes down. So that does illustrate for kids.
It does.
And adults like me.
Yes. So they are functioning panels. And so what we tell people is bring like if you were to take a jacket or a blanket and lay over that, it will affect the output of the panel instantly. So in that way, we got what we wanted. Okay, we got. You can touch it, you can interact with it, and you can see something happen. So that's where those digital readouts come in. We also wanted people to have a point of reference. For example, the average person wouldn't know what 32.18 means. That number on that digital wouldn't mean anything to them. Well, 60.0 equals 60 watts, which is your average light bulb. So right now, these panels are not outputting a strong enough amount of power to power a 60-watt bulb, but they could almost hit a 40-watt, definitely a 25-watt. So you can kind of understand based on that reference point.
Yeah. Robert Reynolds, the reason all of this is here is because of what's over there.
Correct.
And that is what you call a solar farm. You had the distinction of not only designing and overseeing this put together, but you've done it before. You did it at Shelbyville too, right?
We did.
So you have actually two identical solar farms.
That's correct.
Tell me about the dimensions of this.
Okay, the solar farm across the road covers roughly 5 acres. It's full of solar panels, and it produces enough electricity on an annual basis for about 1,200 residential consumers.
1,200 on an annual basis.
On an annual basis.
Now, I'm looking at wires overhead here, and I'm looking at poles that go back to the solar farm itself.
Yes.
How does it work?
So the solar farm produces electricity just by the mere fact that sunlight falls on the panels. We convert that electricity to the type of electricity that the grid uses, and the electricity then comes out on the grid and gets distributed to the consumers in the area served by Spoon River Electric Co-op, actually.
Had you been in on a project like this prior to these two? How did you learn how to do this?
Well, we worked with a contractor out of St. Louis by the name of Azimuth. They had a lot of experience in building these. So I managed the project. They actually did the construction.
Mm-hmm. And were the panels made in the U.S.?
No, unfortunately, 5 years ago at the time that we sourced these panels, it was very difficult to find panels made in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
These panels were in fact made overseas in China.
Yeah. Let's talk about the effectiveness. I mean, we're standing here on a kind of a cloudy day. The sun comes in a little bit, then it goes away, it comes out, goes away. How does that work?
The electrical output does change with regard to how much sunlight's falling on the solar panels. So on a cloudy day, you don't get as much as you get on a sunny day.
Mm-hmm.
And of course at night, it doesn't produce anything. So that's one of the challenges of operating with a solar resource, is that it's intermittent. So you have to figure out how to serve your consumers at night when the sun isn't shining.
Yeah. Well, and you can't store the electricity, can you? Or the energy from the sun, you can't store it.
That's a good question. That's coming, but it's not here yet.
Mm-hmm.
The technology is the same technology as would be used in an electric vehicle for storing electricity, but right now it's just more costly than what makes sense.
Are we talking about using the use of batteries, or how?
Primarily batteries,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Lithium-ion batteries are the going technology today, but there's quite a bit of interest in storage by the people that are like ourselves that are involved in this. That technology will certainly evolve and become less expensive over time.
But for right now, as we stand here, if it's producing any energy at all, it's going right into those lines that we see coming across the road and into, is this called a grid?
This is part of the grid, yes. And that grid's job is kind of like a giant spider web. You know, it distributes the electricity to all of the consumers in the area.
Mm-hmm. Any plans to build any more of these?
We are looking at that right now. We currently own a interest in a wind farm, and we are looking at expanding the amount of renewable resources that we have.
How does solar and wind stack up comparatively?
They're just two different technologies. On a day like today, when it's very windy, wind farms produce a lot of electricity, but there are also periods of time when there isn't any wind and they produce virtually nothing. So they're two complementary technologies, but they operate entirely differently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tracy, you mentioned Mr. Dodds and how passionate he was about this project. And in fact, he was on a ladder and he was working on this barn, wasn't he, at one time?
Absolutely, he really was. And Bill was very picky about the quality of it. He wanted, this is tongue and groove. There are a number of cheaper ways we could have done this, but Bill wanted it to last for a long time, and he wanted it to be done a certain way. And the result really does speak for itself. These are actual doors, so they could have been functional. They're not, but they could have been the way that it's built. We wanted something to be the anchor, the center of interest in the farm, and this serves it very well. It's positioned so that it can be seen easily from both directions of traffic. And if you've ever traveled on this road, you know it works. It's easy to spot either direction. Now, one of the challenges that we had with making this educational was taking all of the technical information about solar energy and the different forms of energy and bringing that into a format that would be fun to look at, would be entertaining, would also be more in lay terms. You know, I'm not a technical expert. I'm not an engineer. I don't work for the co-op. So, but I'm an educator. I was an educator for 33 years. So that is my specialty, and that's exactly why Bill chose us to work on this project with him. So it's designed to be easy to read and fun to read, and hopefully when people visit, they come away with at least a few tidbits of information they didn't know before. I've also learned, I've taught all grade levels, K through college, and I have found that it doesn't matter how old you are, you always want to be entertained. Nobody wants to sit and read a white page with black letters and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. Nobody is going to stand and read that. So it's designed to be little snippets of information that are, you know, fun. In fact, this right here, this actually comes from my husband. we have an ongoing joke in my family. My husband loves to read and loves trivia, and he's always saying to all of us, "Hey, fun fact for you," and we always crack up because you never know what's coming. So that is actually a little nod to my husband because he's always doing that, and so we use that as part of the style that we would use to do this. I'll point out something to you that most people probably don't notice. If you look above us here at the fake loft, there's a tiny little snowman hidden in there.
I see him.
Which is a nod to the artist who designed it.
And that just has to be you and your husband's names.
Exactly,
Snowman.
yes.
That's cute.
Yes.
Well, Taryn, this is a really kind of unique situation for a co-op to have a solar education area. And I guess several years ago, or just a couple of years ago, when you dedicated it, you had a lot of kids out here, didn't you?
Yes, definitely, from the Astoria School District, just down the road.
And what were they doing?
They came to the dedication ceremony and they were able to walk around the Interactive Learning Center, and we also took a field trip across the street to the actual solar farm.
Oh, so they got to tour the solar farm itself. I'll bet they were pretty amazed at the size of it.
Oh, definitely.
It's 5 acres of panels over panels over panels over panels. You're pretty amazed at it too, aren't you?
Yes, it's very neat to see, especially in rural Fulton County.
Yeah. Kids come out here regularly?
They do. To my knowledge, we've had a couple day camps come out, and I know people just driving by will stop by and kind of see what's going on.
Well, it really is kind of self-guided, isn't it? You can just pull in here and you can just walk around and learn all about solar on your own.
Yes, and that was the idea behind the whole Interactive Solar Learning Center.
What do kids like most when they come out here?
I would say they love the solar panel here because it's very interactive.
Well, show me. What do they do?
So right here you can see that they have the watts that are being produced from the sun. You see there's not much sun.
It's kind of a cloudy day, so it's not much.
Very much so. And then when you put your hands on it, it covers.
Oh, look at it go down. That's amazing. Just by putting our hands on it, we decrease the amount of power. Amazing.
Even on a cloudy day it works, and that's the kids' favorite part. They also love climbing on a tractor because what kid doesn't like to climb on a tractor?
Exactly. I guess really not. I mean, school days now are not like they were before the virus, but I imagine once this all goes away, this place will be a busy place again.
Oh, yes, definitely in the summer, fall, spring. Even the hydrant over there, I know the kids can go pump, and the world spins.
Oh, the world, okay.
Yep, and they climb on the pigs, just run around and see everything that's going on.
Well, of course, every kid loves a tractor, so they got the tractor over
most
there
definitely.
too. Yeah. Well, thank you, Taryn.
Thank you. Thanks for visiting.
Eric Hobby Prairie Power, I guess to put it simply, provides power to electric co-ops in Illinois. Is that a good way of describing what you do?
Yes, we're a cooperative too, but we're called a generation transmission cooperative, and Spoon River, whose territory this is a distribution cooperative, and they're the ones that serve the end member at the end of the line.
They're using, as we see here today, they're using some of the solar electric panels, the solar panels that you've provided over here, as well as another farm at Shelbyville. How does this fit into your overall plan?
So this is part of our overall portfolio. We like to have some diversification. So as we've talked about, we've got 2 solar farms, this one here and another one in Shelbyville. We also own part of a wind farm. We also have some gas turbines. We do some other purchases, and we're a part owner of the Prairie State Power Plant, along with some other cooperatives and municipal entities.
Where's the Prairie State Power Plant? I assume that's where most of your power is generated.
Yeah,
is
a
that
large
right?
percentage of that comes out of there, and it's down around Marissa, Illinois.
And what's its source?
So it's a coal-fired power plant.
It's a coal-fired power, and it's fairly new, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm assuming that there aren't going to be a lot of those built up anymore, or am I wrong on that?
No, pretty much all coal fires retiring. There's some newer ones, and we've at Prairie Power, we have a long-term vision of decarbonization and becoming carbon neutral. But as we make these migrations, some of these plants that can follow load, move up and down, still have to stay there because we need grid stability.
Yeah, your Prairie Power's footprint is pretty much across the central part of the state. Is that right?
Yes, we're along central Illinois, and it's pretty much from the Mississippi River to the Indiana border, kind of along the I-72 corridor.
Yeah, this is an education center. We're saying, and this was really, I guess it was a sort of Prairie Power's idea, and then they gave it to creative people and said, make something out of it. And when you come in here, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a neat setup, and we've got to give some credit to Spoon River, Bill Dodds, and with Prairie Power, and there were multiple people that were joined in. But the idea, this was a new technology for us back at that time, and the idea of letting people understand this and have kids come out here and learn from this, and just leave it open for the public to come here and visit and learn a little bit more about solar.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out.
All right, thank you.
Tracy, there's also 2 dioramas included in the barn, and they're fascinating. In fact, here they show the linemen and the co-op workers, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. We wanted something to be interactive and fun, and I think that miniatures really are interesting, and it's a fascination for all ages.
The background is beautiful. Look at the countryside.
That is actually, we took photos of this area.
Yeah.
Both of the backdrops are local. They're Fulton County scenery. And so one of the things that you can do is you can turn on the backlight.
Oh, the lights here, they just
So there
came
are
on.
lights in the corners.
Beautiful.
And this is a clear plexiglass. Well, it's a sort of a milky colored plexiglass with illuminated film over it, so the photograph is translucent. So they can light the scene very quickly with that switch. These are outdoor switches too, so that we knew this would be open year round, and it would have to hold up to the elements. So this is wired so that people can turn on. That turns on the little trucks here.
The trucks lights
you can
came
see
on.
their
That is so neat.
Now this is actually miniature train technology. So we used the technology that they use for the little train industry.
Outstanding.
And that worked out very well. Everything though you see is hand done. It's all hand painted. Bill donated the little trucks. And so you can come along and each one.
The car lights just came on over here.
The
Let's
truck
pull in the
lights,
fifth wheel.
the camper.
Yeah. Now the inside lights of the camper just came on. That's cool. That is cool. Tracy, there's another diorama too on the other side of the barn. This one, it shows more of just a farm scene, right?
Right.
And this is what a good many people in Spoon River Co-op area, this is the way they live.
That's right. That's right. And at the same kind of configuration where they can turn on
The
the
backlighting
scene,
comes on.
the farm scene, and then each one turns on a different little piece. It's a little harder to see during the day, but the tractor and so on. We wanted to represent life in Fulton County.
You sure did. And you and your husband, again, you even built a lot of this, I guess, huh?
We built some of the pieces. The other thing that we like to do, like the combine and the tractor, those are actual toys, and we had to keep everything at the same scale so it would work. But we would buy off-the-shelf items sometimes, and then we hand paint them so that they don't look ordinary. And then we wired, normally those wouldn't have lights. So being able to take a ready-made object and then customize it is something that was very easy to do.
Yeah.
And so using lots of different old school techniques, being an artist definitely came in helpful here. Being an educator, thinking through, how are kids going to interact and what will they like to do, what will they think is fun. The only thing I will tell you that we were a little disappointed in, one of the things we really, really wanted in this diorama, we wanted a switch to turn the windmill on. We weren't able to motorize the windmill. We even played with the idea of mounting a fan underneath that would make the wind move, actual wind, and it just didn't generate enough force to make it move. So when I look at this, I'm like, oh, I really wish that windmill would move, but nobody would know that. It's just one of those things that again, sometimes your dream of what it could be and the technology don't always match completely up, but we're happy with the overall result of it.
Do you have any idea what visitation is like out here? I mean, it's a self-guided thing. I mean, so you really wouldn't know when people are coming and when they're not, would you?
Correct. That's correct. I think that it gets a lot more traffic than Spoon River probably realizes. I field a lot of calls because I maintain the website. And I get a couple calls a month from people asking, what's out there, what is there to do, do I need an appointment, is there someone there to guide us? And so I'm happy to answer those questions. I think everybody that was involved in this project, although I got paid to do the labor, I still have a personal investment in it, and I maintain the website and the hosting and
Yeah.
all that, just because I think it's important.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, those are things that I willingly volunteer to do because I think this is fun. Now, I have seen busloads of kids here, and the very first thing most of them do is come right to the dioramas.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
So yeah, I think the dioramas are even more a feature than we anticipated that they would be. And this wasn't really in the original plan. This is part of what evolved as we went through it. So.
Well, you and your husband did a great job, and I think Spoon River's got a lot to be proud of. And thanks for showing it to us.
You're very welcome.
Okay. We are on Route 24 between Astoria and Havana. And if you are on this stretch of road, you're very welcome to pull off. There's not going to be a lot of visitation now while schools are not operating normally. But this will be here, and it's self-guided, and you're welcome. With another Illinois story near Astoria, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.